ground distance starts with the velocity of touchdown and the wind velocity. Correct to standard conditions, ground distance. Again, the power is, we hope, at idle or zero thrust. So all we have is the weight correction and the density correction. And it's been found over the years that the weight correction for landings doesn't work real well. And so most folks tend to ignore it and just use the density correction. And of course the air distance, since this is a power off glide, doesn't really change with going to standard conditions. And here's what the landing distance chart would look like. Again, taken for the same airplane that I showed you before. Piper Navajo 350. A lot of times we, on multi-engine airplanes in particular, we say we start the takeoff and we get just about to lift off and bang, engine quits. And the pilot has to make a decision, right? And the decision is, do I continue the takeoff or do I reject it? Pull the other throttle idle and get on the brakes. On light airplanes, Part 23 airplanes, it's always a good idea to pull the other throttle idle and get on the brakes. Reject the takeoff, even if you go off the end of the runway. Because most light airplanes, multi-engine light airplanes, will not climb sufficiently for the average pilot to succeed in a continued takeoff. We had a good example of that here at FIT several years back. And their names are all on the wall down in flight ops. If the engine quits, you pull the other throttle off and land straight ahead. But, in some cases, you may, you want to reject the takeoff and you'd like to know how long that's going to take. Well, what you can do is just tie the takeoff distance, ground distance, and the landing ground distance together and get that kind of thing. And here's an example. Usually this one you see here is the velocity going up. Okay, engine fail right there. There's a velocity coming back down to get stopped. So that's what this thing would look like. Normally what folks do though is in here you can see that this just immediately turned the corner there, so to speak. Normally they will put in so many seconds at the takeoff velocity, distance-wise, for pilot recognition time. Now, unfortunately, there isn't any standard. Some folks use, I've seen some use a second, and a second really isn't, On some airplanes, on the KC-135, I think the Air Force used 6 seconds. On some other airplanes, they've used 3 seconds. Like I say, it's all over. Unfortunately, it has not been standardized even by the FAA as to what that should be. I think kind of a common thing is about 3 seconds at that speed, and then start the thing down. So. But here is a chart for the Navajo for what we call either accelerate and stop or reject takeoff. And of course, none of this is in the air. Okay, this is all on the ground. And in this case, they only plotted the case of the headwind. Okay, questions?